Hello everyone. Today we are going to look into the Great Nicobar project. Now, if you could remember in our previous video, I talked about the Great Nicobar project, right? Now, why is it very important for India to develop this particular region? Now, if you could see this map, Great Nicobar is actually quite close to the Strait of Malacca. So, developing this particular region serves two purposes. One is the economic purpose, and the other one is the strategic purpose, which is very important, right? Now, if you have your maritime presence here, we can actually monitor the maritime traffic. Okay, the trade can be monitored in a better way, and we can ensure that the trade happens smoothly in this particular region, right? And as I told you in the previous video, India is trying to be a net security provider in this particular region, right? So we should have a very strong naval presence so that everything happens smoothly in this particular region, right? We'll try to understand this project better. Now, recently, National Green Tribunal has given a green signal to this project. Okay, there were concerns about the environmental degradation due to development of this particular region, but now, since the green signal is given, right, the government has started building all the required infrastructure in this particular area, right? So, this project was actually conceived way back in 2021 by NITI Aayog. Okay, it's a mega infrastructure initiative aimed at transforming the southernmost island of the Andaman and Nicobar archipelago into a strategic and economic hub. As I said, it serves two purposes. One is strategic, the other one is economic. It aligns with India's Maritime Vision 2030 and Amrit Kal Vision 2047, right? So it involves development of these regions, especially Galathea Bay. Okay, so Galathea Bay is where we are trying to construct a transshipment terminal, right? We'll understand what it is, right? And we'll look into the Pemaya Bay and Anjapa Bay also, right? So the island is approximately equidistant from Colombo, Port Klang, and Singapore, placing India at the center of regional sea trade, right? Now, why these particular regions are given? Earlier, India was dependent on the Colombo port, Port Klang, and Singapore for our transshipment. But now we are developing Great Nicobar region so that we can have our own transshipment terminal, right? Fine. Let's look into the location. Okay. So the Galathea Bay is here. Okay. So this is your Great Nicobar Island, and you find the Galathea Bay on the eastern coast of Great Nicobar Island, whereas Pemaya Bay is in the western part, right? Now, this region we know Andaman, it's part of Andaman and Nicobar, okay? And Andaman and Nicobar, we have many tribal groups there, right? And this particular area is inhabited by the Nicobaris and Shompan tribal communities, okay? Just for information, if at all a question comes, okay? So this particular region is dominated by the Nicobaris and Shompan tribal community, right? And it is also a biodiversity hotspot, okay? This region is rich in biodiversity, right? So it's part of Sundaland biodiversity hotspot extending to Southeast Asia, right? And Galathea Bay is also a major global nesting site of endangered giant leatherback turtles, right? So these kind of questions might be asked in prelims, right? So it's always important for us to prepare comprehensively so that we will be able to answer most of the questions, right? Now, this is what I was talking about, international container transshipment port, right? So now understand, okay, transshipment port is where, okay, a large vessel comes in. Suppose if this is the port, a large vessel comes in, okay, it will unload and the cargo will get reloaded in smaller vessels, which goes to different regions, right? So this is the purpose of a transshipment port. A larger vessel which carries all the cargo, it gets unloaded, okay, and it gets reloaded in smaller vessels and ships, and that goes to different regions, okay. So this is the purpose of the transshipment port. Now, so this is what we are trying to build in this particular region, right? So the port has a natural depth of more than 20 meters and is notified as India's 13th major port. Okay, this Galathea Bay, okay, was already notified as India's 13th major port, right? See, as I said, nearly 75% of India's transshipped cargo is handled at foreign ports like Colombo, Singapore, and Port Klang. This is in Malaysia, right? So there is a estimate revenue generation. Estimate suggests that project could eventually generate 30,000 crore in annual revenue by 2040 and create over 50,000 jobs. This is the economic angle, right? So it might lead to 50,000 jobs getting created, right? And 30,000 crores in revenue. Now, another important region in the Andaman Nicobar Islands that was in news is Barren Islands. Okay. Now, Barren Island is volcanic island in the Andaman Sea. Okay. And it is about 130 kilometers northeast of Port Blair. Okay. In this map, if you could see, this is the Barren Island. Okay. And Port Blair is somewhere here. Okay. So it is towards the northeast, around 138 kilometers northeast of Port Blair. It is the only confirmed active volcano in Indian subcontinent and South Asia. Okay, this is very important. Okay, it is the only confirmed in India. This is the only active volcano. Okay, rest all are dormant. So this is the only active volcano, and recently, okay, eruptions were observed in 2025 in this Barren Island volcano. Okay, so that is why it is very important. Now, why volcanic eruption happens? It is above the subduction zone of India and Burmese plates. Okay, so this might also be asked. Okay, so it is the in the subduction zone of Indian plate and Burmese minor plate. Okay, I'll just show you that in the diagram. Okay, if you could see here, you have the Indian plate and you have the Burma micro plate. Okay, so again here it's a lot clearer. Okay, so subduction happens, and that is why this is an active volcano. Okay, now this would give you a better understanding. Okay, so see, if there is a subduction here, okay, the magma will rise and it leads to volcanic eruption, right? So this is what it happens. So the island is protected under Barren Island Wildlife Sanctuary. Okay, we can see here also it is a wildlife sanctuary, right? So these are some of the volcanoes that are in India. These are dormant volcanoes. Okay, these are not active now. Okay, you have Narkondam, Deccan Plateau, Paratang Island. Okay, all these things, just have a look at it. Okay, these are not active volcanoes, but just it's important to know the names of these volcanoes and where they exist. Okay. Now we'll look into a question. Okay, Barren Island was already asked in prelims in 2018. Okay, the Barren Island volcano is an active volcano located in Indian territory. Barren Island lies about 140 kilometers east of Great Nicobar. Okay, so it's not 140 kilometers east of Great Nicobar. It is around 138 kilometers east of Port Blair. Okay, Port Blair is there, right? So answer is the first one. Okay, option A. No, we saw Great Nicobar. Great Nicobar is somewhere here. Okay. Whereas Barren Island is here. So it is not 140 kilometers east of Great Nicobar. Rather, it is 140 kilometers east of Port Blair. Right. And one more prelims question was there in 2014. They talked about the 10-degree channel. Okay, which separates Andaman and Nicobar. If you could see here, you have the 10-degree channel, right? So it's also important for us to know all these regions in the map. Okay, just have a look at it so that whatever question comes related to this can be answered easily. Thank you.